Roll call, I am here. Linda Brandt is absent. Yolanda is here. Carol is here. Jim Bender is here. Student. Joanna? Good job. How do you say that?
Joanna.
Joanna, yeah, just making sure I don't mess it up. And Michaela is absent. Oh, I'm sorry, Carol. We need to administer your oath of office in front of the people.
Okay. I'm just going to stand right here. I broke my leg for
Yeah, you can stay right there and she can come over there and do it.
All right, so you can raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Carol Robinson, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Okay.
Good job. Motion for the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda.
A second. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Student? And we have a few people that are... Members of the public may address the board on any topic within the jurisdiction of the board by submitting a presentation request to the secretary. Members of the public are strongly urged not to mention personnel by name and are reminded that they do not have immunity from legal action if personnel are named. Board may limit each speaker to 3 minutes and a total of 20 per topic. People wishing to speak on items that are not on the board agenda will be called upon at this time to called upon when the item is considered. People who wish to speak on items that are not on the board agenda will be called upon at this time. Since the board generally cannot take action on items not on the board agenda, such items will be referred to the superintendent for handling. And Ms. Fuentes.
Do you want me to stay right here since your podium is
Sure.
missing? Well, first of all, I wanted to tell the board, I asked to speak in closed session because as much as I like to come here and talk in open session and air out everything, you know, there's really something I hold dear to my heart, and I have for 13 years in this district, and those of you who know me know this to be true. I have a 17-year-old special education student who I don't just have one IEP a year, I have probably 4, 5, 6 IEPs a year because things aren't going correct, and I've done this since she was in kindergarten. Knowing these things aren't working, they had her skip the 5th grade because they said it would help her promote all these things. Well, about 6 months ago, an IEE was done that the district had to pay $12,000 to fund. It comes to find out, my daughter was labeled all these years as being emotionally disturbed. It comes to find out my daughter is intellectually disabled with an overall IQ of 68. I can see why the district wants to cover this up, because you know what, as much as I want it to be right, I want it to be wrong. Because you know what, I'm going to be raising this little girl for a lot longer. Imagine having a 17-year-old at home where in a lot of areas, probably 80% of the areas, she's about 11 to 12 years old. Academically, she has the education of a third grader. They're going to graduate her in 6 months. I've had to bring in attorneys, hundreds of thousands of dollars. An 85-page due process complaint. This attorney isn't well liked because he just comes in here and says it how it is. How my daughter's been treated. She's been mistreated for having a disability. She's been the district, and I wish, not that I wish I could say, but it would make a little bit more sense if you could say the biggest bullies were students and kids, because kids are horrible. That's not the case. The biggest bullies in this district have been adults. And I'm not saying it's at the hands of the special ed department. Cheryl is, the head of special education is one person that has to foresee a whole program. And for a long time, you guys had a superintendent in here that wouldn't let her foresee a lot of the programs. So she was limited in what she could do. I don't hold her responsible, but I do hold the people responsible that were in charge of my child's IEP. Her 9th grade year, she went an entire year without her IEP, 6 months, without an IEP being used. Ever. She was in SDC classes, not only my child, but you're talking 30 other kids times 6 periods a day, but I'm the only parent that pays attention that knows that all their IEPs weren't being looked at. I, in good faith, because I knew as long as I had this attorney, the district wouldn't settle. They'd keep going because what we pay our attorneys is a big, huge price difference. What I pay and what the district pays their attorneys. So in good faith, after a year, I fired this attorney. I sit down and I have a mediation, and do you know what I'm offered for my child? $5,000 in compensatory education.
Thank you, Sharon. Now, are all these other items also about your daughter?
Every single one of them.
Okay, then
But they're about separate subjects.
it's still your daughter. That's all we can take this one.
But I was told how to do it, and I've done this before.
I know, but because it's still about the same item,
It's not the same item. There's another item.
it's still the same subject.
No, it's not actually. There's another part. There's 4 different items on there, and I'll talk about each one of them. There's about special ed, and I went into the second one, and I still have the third one and the fourth.
They're still about the same subject.
No, they're not. One's about special ed, one's about the compensatory education. The next one's gonna be about my mother being attacked. The next one is gonna be about putting Marissa back at the high school. They're all different subjects. Yes, they're on the same person, but they're all different subjects. No, it's a way of you guys trying to shut a parent up, and that's wrong. Because I tried to talk to you guys in closed session. And I asked 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. So either will you guys see me in private? Because I mean, I would rather do that.
They're still all the same person. It still has.
It doesn't matter if they're still on the same person. I've come in here before and talked.
I'm going to let you have one more.
Okay.
One more. Sally, 2 minutes, please.
Okay, again, okay, about the compensatory education. I was offered $5,000 in compensatory education. They tell me my daughter can get an associate's degree from AVC for $5,000. First of all, it's going to take her I don't know how many years to even get to a junior level. I'm told, well, we'll offer her additional services. I've given this district 13 years. What are you going to do with her in 2, 3 more? She's had the same benchmarks and goals for 4 years. Marissa was involved in an altercation where my mother was attacked by the student's mother and the student in the parking lot. There were 5 or 6 male staff standing right there that did nothing. My mother was bleeding profusely. Marissa got the adult and the child off my mother. Marissa was put on an extended expulsion. This was in 10th grade. Okay, I give up on the fact that you guys won't educate her. She has 6 months left of a senior year. Let the kid go over and have photography. Let her have something normal. Let us worry in the background where we're going to send her to get an education, because it's apparent they're not going to do that for her. Mr. Weinstein put her over from put her from home study over to rare earth. That was against the extended expulsion, but because he was the superintendent and did whatever the heck he wanted, he did that. I want to know why we can't put her back over at the high school and give this kid an opportunity and let the adults fight the battles that the adults need to do in closed session. This girl only has a few months left. I'm limited on time with her. I think the other thing that the district needs to take into consideration is, yeah, there's only so much that we can do in compensatory compensation, but the district needs to take on the consideration of a civil liability. Yesterday, your guys' motion was denied for only to go back the 2 years of allotted time. The judge told me I can go back all 13 years. They can still file motions, but every motion they filed thus far has been denied, and this is with me without an attorney. Like I said, I fired this attorney. Came in and I was insulted, offered a $5,000. I've had to hire another attorney to come in and do this. This child does not know her multiplications past 2. They can deny it and hide it and cover it up all day long. It is what it is. They can say that the IEE is wrong. Pay $12,000. Let's have another one. I bet you it shows the same thing. The signs of Marissa being ID have been there since she was 5 years old. For whatever reason, the psychologist didn't key on it, didn't do it. They say, oh, it's all writing and it's all speech and language. The IEE lady said, do a speech and language, so they did a speech and language. Now they're trying to say, oh, it's all speech and language. For the first time in 13 years, they tested her speech and language, and that's what they're trying to say it is. Bull crap. It's people trying to cover up and cover up. This district has done her wrong, and I would like for you guys to know where I'm coming from as a parent.
Thank you. Okay. ASB board members not here today. How about Trump?
January 25th, ASB will be hosting a winter ball in the TMS cafeteria. The theme is Walking the Red Carpet. Tickets are $8 and $10 at the door. Basketball season has started, and 6th grade girls are going to a tournament in Fraser Mountain this Saturday. You can come if you like. ASB is trying to buy trash cans and recycling bins, and we think that after the winter ball we will be able to get them. You can buy your yearbook now before prices go up at memorybook.com/memorypay. They are $30 if you order now until February. After February, prices will go up.
Thank you. Good job. Board member communication. Carol?
I have to comment. I appreciate you guys voting for me and allowing me to serve this community. I hope that I can do a good job for you, and there's training coming up that will enlighten me. But I have no students in this district. I came from Bakersfield City Schools. That's where I retired, and that's where my kids are all at. Of course, my oldest is 40, so. But I'm only interested in helping this community. So I want to facilitate communication between teachers, school site councils, those kinds of things as much as I can do. I have to find out what all the rules are. Thank you.
Jim?
Thank everybody for coming tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Ready to get our hands dirty. First time I came to our first meeting, it was basically go on vacation for 3 weeks, and I was pretty frustrated in 3 weeks, because I'm ready to get to work. I'm excited about it. I want to see some change. I came up with my special slogan during my running of my campaign. If you guys seen it, was "Let's make our schools great again." So I came up with that when I tell everybody, but I think it's been used. But that's what I want to do. Let's make these schools great again.
Thank you, Jay.
Maybe it has.
Thank you all for coming, and I hope you all had a restful, enjoyable Christmas, and I know that you're all ready, to be back and put all your 100% in, and hopefully we'll be here to back you all up and do the best that we can for the teachers, administrators, students, parents, and communicators. Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for coming, and I hope everybody had a great vacation for the holidays, and I hope everybody's holidays were enjoyable. And our job up here is to be supportive for you guys, so you guys can do your job the best you can. And you guys need anything, don't hesitate to ask, because that's our job, to make things better for the kids. And the way we do that is to be supportive for our staff, and that's all we can do. Okay? Thank you. Next, RTA.
Good evening. On behalf of RTA, I want to again welcome the new members of the board, including Mrs. Robinson, who was not able to attend the last meeting. Welcome.
Yes, I was in an ambulance going.
That's an excuse. Thought you were a teacher. All 5 of you have chosen to be on the board at a very difficult time. However, we have been down this road before. Mario, you and I talked about that a few weeks ago. If we continue to work collaboratively, using the experience of those of us who have been through this, we can find solutions that have minimal impact on the students and the employees of the district. I was involved in budget recommendation meetings today, coordinated by Larry Tanksley. He, Ms. Herrera, and Mr. Wexler have done a great job in putting together a beginning framework for budget recommendations to be presented to the administration, the board, and the district employees. The beginning framework outlines reductions at every site, including the district office. The committee is then getting input from all of those groups to make additions and adjustments. As I said, I have attended some meetings and have had a member of the RTA leadership at the other meetings. I expect we will see the results of the efforts of everyone involved over the next few weeks. Part of the recommendations will certainly involve negotiations with both RTA and CSEA. Here is where we still have a problem that needs to be addressed. Our 2018-2019 tentative agreement for contract language changes to the board for a vote. The reason is that it continues to be put on hold by the county because of possible cost areas within the agreement. Board, I stand firm in my conviction that there is not a single item that would cost the district any money in the current budget and in the future budgets. In fact, there is one item that shields the district from added cost. Mrs. Hargus and the board must advocate for the teachers in the district with the county and convince our advisor that the TA is acceptable. My 23 years as RTA president, serving in the best interests of the students and the district, has earned your support. So right now we are at a stalemate. The district needs to negotiate for 2019-2020, but RTA is not going to go to the table until the 2018-2019 TA is resolved. And this should be easy. We have more important issues in which to turn our attention. RTA once again asked the district to put our TA before the board for a vote, and we urge the board to approve the simple contract language changes of procedures we are already using. Thanks very much.
CSEA, do you have anybody from the CSEA? CBO report.
So construction started on the restoration project at the high school for the 2 classrooms that were flooded. It started this week. They should be completed by the 1st of February. They're working night shifts from 3 to 10, and they're working on Saturdays as well.
Now this is all insurance, right?
Yeah, insurance is paying for the cost.
Are they paying for our workers being there on overtime?
I'm gonna bill them, so.
We're going to
And,
build them? Are they gonna pay it?
Raleigh's
They have
working, he's working a split shift, so to speak, so he is working some hours in the morning and the other hours at night to supervise. So if any time above his regular 8 hours, we'll ask the insurance to cover the cost. Because there's no, this project is not large enough to have an inspector, but we do have to supervise it. Today, we just received a grant. It's called the Classified School Employees Professional Development Block Grant, $38,797. The intent, or the priority of the money is to be used toward professional development for implementation of school safety plans. So we'll have to work on a plan on how to expend this. It'll primarily be used on training our CSOs, school staff as well. But $38,000 is a considerable amount of money for training. So that just came in today. This past week, we received $247,000, a grant towards low-performing student block grant. So that's the title of the grant, low-performing student. It's supposed to be used for identified students that don't fit a particular category, so non-special ed, non-low income students, non-English learner students. So $247,000 is supposed to be used within 3 years. We're supposed to submit a spending plan by March 1st to the state. And Title IV, this was created when Every Student Succeeds Act was created by the federal government. Title IV, for us, our share is $76,000. We've received $38,000 so far. And it's supposed to go towards providing all students access to a well-rounded education, improve school conditions for learning, and improve the use of technology for student achievement. And that's federal money.
It's low achieving, but not special ed and not free and reduced.
And they don't fit into any other
Unduplicated
category.
So it'd be like the opposite of unduplicated.
Right. So that would be kids who are failing their core subject, say algebra or something. It's to implement something to assist that type of program.
Right. It would.
Kind of like an RSP? No.
What's the percentage of it we're talking about?
For us, it's about 30% of our students would fall into this category.
Really knows what RSP means.
Yeah, the number was based on test scores that the state has. So the test, I'm not sure what tests they would collect scores on, but they base it on those test scores, and whoever is falling below standards, the state will put, that would add that to the count of students. So for each student, there's a X number of dollars for that.
If I remember right, we were low on math and
Certain subgroups were low math and language arts.
language arts. That was the other one. I remember seeing that we were just below the state average on.
What are the percentages at each level? Like elementary, middle school, and high school? Students.
As far as how many students would qualify or are
For the-
included in that
yeah.
247,000. My understanding is I believe they take the CASP scores, and so it would be 3 through, 8th grade and then 11th grade. So, but I'm not sure exactly what the percentage is. I remember reading there was a number, and it was like $500 a student. So, the number of students that don't fall into the unduplicated count is pretty small.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
So what's our plan? Do we have a plan to use this money?
We have not put it together, we
No.
just got it.
Okay, we just got the grant, so you're gonna put together a plan and then present it back to us and tell us what it is?
Yeah, we'll have to submit it by March 1st to the state. But the money's already been,
So who's working on the plan?
Lady Herrera and I.
Now, this plan is not gonna consist on hiring or building, right?
Right.
They cannot know.
Okay.
So it has to be for students. Okay. The annual audit report for 17-18 overview. Oh, I'm sorry. Leanne, your report.
Good evening, thank you all for coming. I hope that you all had a great time off and are ready to come back. Just sort of piggybacking on what Jim said, you know, I do appreciate that Larry Tanksley, Dan Wexler, and Noemi have gone to all of the school sites and have, you know, participated in those budget recommendation meetings. But I also want to thank everybody else, CSEA, RTA administrators that all participated in that as well and gave some suggestions. And those certainly won't be the last of the suggestions. We will be, the three of them are going to be compiling all of those suggestions into, you know, PowerPoint to be, you know, to present to administrators and then to present to staff. So we still will continue with those budget suggestions and, you know, kind of whittling those down, and we'll kind of, you know, at some point become kind of like that Tetris game where everything has a dollar amount attached to it, and it's kind of like, okay, well, we're going to switch this for this, and, you know, kind of moving things around, but we will eventually get that, you know, set, and then we'll bring it to the board, and the board will approve, you know, some of those recommendations moving forward. So, you know, it's just important that, you know, we all work together. It's, you know, going to be a difficult semester, but I certainly think if we, you know, can sit down and you know, really figure this out, I think we have enough experience, you know, within the district that we really can solve this situation ourselves.
And when he says, you know, it's fair for us to look at this plan or whatever.
So they will have their presentation together for the administrators, and the department heads will have that meeting on the 23rd of January. I'm kind of tentatively planning for an RTA CSEA meeting on the 24th, and then we will bring all of those recommendations the first board meeting in February.
So it'd be like the first board meeting?
Yes.
February 6th. Okay.
Annual audit report for 17-18, overview of the funds and recommendations of the audit conducted by Jeanette Garcia and Associates. That's all you.
I'm just going to stand here.
Yeah.
For Mrs. Robinson, every year, school districts are required by education code to have a financial and compliance audit. And that's what we were engaged to perform. And this is
I received those and I've read them all.
Oh, good. As an auditor, the primary purpose of the audit is to give an opinion on the financial statements, whether or not they're presented fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. This year, we do have an unmodified opinion, which means the financial statements are prepared in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles and are fairly stated. However, we do have an additional other matters paragraph in our opinion regarding going concern, and that's related to the current financial situation that we find ourselves in. We refer to a footnote in the report that gives a little bit more detail about what has happened and a little bit of the plan going forward. Because this is a financial and compliance audit, we're also testing your compliance with federal laws and regulations, and every year we kind of rotate the programs that we test. Which ones? We did, I should have that memorized by now. This year, we tested Title II and Child Nutrition. And except for one finding, you were in compliance with all of the requirements for those federal and state programs. We also test your compliance with state laws and regulations. Every year, the Education Audit Appeals Panel publishes what we refer to as the audit guide. And there are dozens and dozens of procedures which we're required to test when we come out and do the audit. And our opinion on that is also unmodified, but we did have a couple findings and recommendations in the state compliance area. I don't know if you want me to go through those individually. I was kind of hoping maybe you could just maybe ask questions if you had any.
I'm good.
I like what I see.
I have a question on the findings of the 2018, the 001. You talk about the recommendations about having a citizens oversight committee that you recommended.
Well, it's for your Prop 39 bonds,
Right.
you're required to have a citizens oversight committee. Is that what we're talking about?
Yes, we are. We're
Yeah.
talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the requirements of Prop 39.
Yeah.
And so we haven't had one, is that what?
General obligation bond.
Right,
Yeah.
which is your 2008 and your 2014 bonds, which we have the two
Yeah.
separate audits for.
We
Now, the
tried-
14s are spent, so we would need one for the 08.
We tried to put a oversight committee together. We got no applications, so we have to try again.
And it's hard to put a committee like this together because you have to have specific members representing certain groups. You know, a person representing the business community, a person representing the taxpayers, a parent, a retiree. I mean, I don't know, there's several different positions to fill.
We actively went out and asked people to apply. We put it in the Roseman News. We got no applications back.
I have a quick question.
Uh-huh.
By us advertising it, trying to get this, and nobody comes forward, are we in compliance? Or?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know the answer to that. That might be better asked of your bond counsel.
Okay.
I honestly don't, I've never had a situation like that. Everybody else, they have a committee. They might not be complete, you know, they might be missing a few members, but at least there's somebody. I don't know, I don't know for sure.
I know for two of the bonds we did have a committee, because I was attending when we had a meeting. That was the 04 and I think the 08. The last group I have not.
I think the last committee meeting was maybe 5 years ago. Unfortunately, multiple people from that committee passed away.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know a lot of the people that were on that original committee or the second committee, I know at least three.
And the rules of the committee, their terms expire and they don't carry forward. But I did try, I made an effort to try and get applications. We asked in person, we went to Senior Citizens Committee. There was just no interest in it. So, I mean, the only answer is to try again. But we do not have any more money in our bond funds anymore, so this will be basically a closeout committee.
I just wanna make sure that we try to stay in compliance with that.
Yeah, I really tried.
So we spent all of 2008 already now too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I guess we'll see that when we do the audit this year.
Okay.
And then what about on page 78, underneath the LCFF student, where There's 14 students altogether that you found that were not in compliance?
Yeah, this is one of the state compliance items we're required to test, and that's to verify the unduplicated count, which is the basis for your supplemental and concentration grant funding. It's been 2 years now, I think, since we've gone on the CEP program, where you're paid based off of that base year, and you don't collect new lunch applications. But we're still required to look for verification to make sure those students that are classified as free or reduced actually have support for that. And because we're trying to find applications from 2 years ago, we were unable to find all of them. So that's when Eric developed his annual income survey.
Alternative income.
The alternative income survey, which hopefully should rectify this situation for 18-19.
Right, because we are CEP, by law, we're not allowed to accept lunch applications. And our first year is our base year, meaning we're not going to collect anything. We just have a free and reduced count of what we had the previous year. So the alternate income form replaces the lunch form, and we can require that families submit the alternate income form.
CalPads, so that when we do our test, there will be support for the designations. And we only had problems with the free and reduced lunch. The students who were designated as English learners, no problem there. It was just isolated to the lunch program.
Now that form that you're gonna send out, it's gonna have a range of income?
We've done it so parents can fill out the form in areas, and it is a range. Basically, it's, do you earn between this much and this much? We try to make it as simple as possible. The guidelines don't require it to be as stringent as the federal income form. So if you were to log into Aries, it's a really simple form.
Now, how do we audit that? Because I know our old way we used to do it, nobody told the truth.
Right. We have to take a sample of 20 students or 20 families and ask that they verify their incomes for that. And then we go from that, and then Jeanette and her team will also look through it as well.
So I imagine we'll be able to have somebody log in and show us the forms online?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we'll pull a sample of names and then look for the forms and make sure that they're there.
Yeah, the federal guidelines, we have to take samples, but for the alternate income is a state form, so the guidelines are just not developed. That's one of those, once CEP came, it was optional to participate, but the state made it mandatory. If you're a district that qualified, the state required that you participate. But the alternate income form was this side part of it that wasn't really understood well. And they're putting more emphasis into it now throughout the state. So as we're going along, we'll get more guidelines from the state about it, but that is our process. We will take samples next year and ask that the families we verify their answers.
Let me ask a silly question. After we get this report and we read things like you noted that we took $884,000 in salaries from that bond that we weren't supposed to. What are we doing?
Was that the prior year finding?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was not a problem in 17-18. Because there were initially some salaries charged to the bonds, but they were journaled out before the end of the year. So we had no salaries charged to bonds. And it's not necessarily a problem or a wrong to charge salaries to the bonds. It just has to be, we have to verify that they're not administrator salaries and things like that. And in the 16-17 audit, we weren't able to verify that that was the case. So that's why that was a finding. But that has been fixed.
Along with the $281,000 for other expenses like Chromebooks and.
We did not find any, I don't believe we found any inappropriate expenditures in the bond audit this year, did we?
This year, no.
Not
This year was, this year it was all good.
This is Leanna, my partner in crime.
Yeah, that was, in terms of the salaries, we asked that our attorneys draft an opinion to support that, but after discussing it with the county, we just agreed to just reverse all those transactions.
So we tried to, but it didn't work, basically.
Well, rather than going through the whole, it wasn't worthwhile.
And like I said, we also audited, we did a performance audit on the 2008 and the 2014 general obligation bonds. Because both bond proceeds are deposited into the same fund at the county, we kind of did a first in, first out as far as what was spent out of which bond measure. So as of June 30th, 2018, the 2014 bonds were completely paid off. We had the new issue on the 2008 bond, which a lot of it was spent during 17-18, and sounds like it might be all gone now for 18-19. And we'll verify that when we do the audit this year.
Thank you.
And then ordinarily, these would go to your oversight committee, who would then prepare a report to you, but at least you have this. And this gives you some assurance that the bonds, the proceeds have been spent properly. Because we didn't have any exceptions. In our, and we test, and to be honest, because of the problems we had in 17, we tested a lot more than we normally would have, and we were good.
Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just got a couple more things, probably not for you, though.
Okay.
I just got the finding of 2017 of the revolving cash fund.
Yeah,
I guess the superintendent was free to go with that, whatever he wanted to do. We need to make sure that that's not in effect anymore, right?
that is not happening anymore.
Okay. And 1,000, I guess we can write a check for less than 1,000? Is that true?
Legally, if you read the Ed Code, it actually has a limit that you cannot issue checks out of that revolving fund for more than 1,000. I would recommend a lower threshold if it were up to me. But we didn't, I don't think, I mean, payroll errors, obviously, those are gonna be over 1,000, and those are, that's okay. But for the purchase of goods or services, it legally can't exceed 1,000.
Yeah.
And I don't believe we saw any of those during the 17-18 audit.
Are we using this for payroll?
In emergency situations.
Okay, so sometimes we need it to be that high?
Yeah.
Is there any way we can restrict it to a lower amount for whatever, paper, pencil, whatever we need to run and get?
For day-to-day.
For day-to-day usage?
Yeah, definitely.
I would like this, we got to put that on the agenda for next week to vote for? Or how do we do that?
Okay, we will have to see what we spent it on, because we don't utilize this account too often.
Yeah, but it was abused.
It was. But we no longer allow transactions of that nature to go through that. But we could, I will look at what we spent these transactions on.
Do we get a monthly report of this on our packages?
Yeah, it's part of the AP
Okay.
report that's included.
Okay.
But I'll look into lowering it.
Then I had one more thing I guess I'll bring up. The mileage, we'll talk a little bit about it, but the mileage and the double dipping, did we stop that?
Yes,
That's taken care of?
that was not a problem.
No more problems? Never gonna happen again.
No.
Not until we catch it yet.
We'll look for it.
Yeah.
Anything else?
That's it. So,
No, that's exactly what we need.
I just want to know, where can the public find these documents?
Do you guys put it on your website?
Eric,
your audit report?
Sometimes they're posted online.
Yeah, it was part of the was it part of the backup for it? But it'll be on the website. Awesome. Tomorrow. I don't post it until we post to the board.
Consent items. Anybody have anything other than what's in there from 8F?
let me get organized. So what are we doing now? That one there, we're voting on that one?
The consent items, no. Consent items is all your, approve the minutes, all the purchases, all the purchase orders, vouchers, approve December's, payroll, ratify community action, partnership with, Kern standards agreement for food services. I was gonna ask about that.
Me too.
Yeah, what is that?
Give us a summary there.
So it's an agreement, this is a continuation of the agreement, so they exercise their option to continue this contract. Basically, we provide food for the First Five program that runs through the church. It's the county runs the program, and they contract with us to provide meals for them.
It's run through the county, not from the church.
Right, the facility
Is at the church.
Correct. We've done this for years. This year we raised the rates to $3 a meal, to reimburse us at $3 a meal. Last year was $2.50, and that's just to reflect the increased cost that we incurred for the meals.
So we're supplying meals for the,
We're supplying meals for the children at the preschool, at the
Yes.
church.
Correct.
It's through the county.
Like Head Starts.
Yeah, Head Start program. Now, why don't the church do that themselves?
It's just more cost effective to purchase the meals through us for them.
Now, do they get reimbursed for their children?
They do.
And at what rate? How much are they making off of us, basically?
Not much. It's a little more than the $3.
A little bit more? 310?
Maybe $3.25, $3.50.
And how many meals we're talking a day?
Anywhere between 100 and 200. And that's delivered, our driver delivers the meals. And it's just part of the regular prep plan for the school sites. So it's not anything out of it's not an extra shift or anything. It's just part of the regular process.
They can knock out 200 more meals just as easy as they can knock out 500, right?
Yeah.
I understand.
okay, do I hear a motion?
I second.
Second by Mr. Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Personnel. No. Do you hear a motion? I'll make a motion that we accept the personnel as written.
We're accepting the hire them.
Yep. And some are transfers, some are resignations.
Well, can we talk a little bit?
Sure.
I'm having a hard time hiring people when we know what we're facing in a short period of time. I really don't want to hire anybody unless it's a safety issue, something that has to be done. So I would have to say no on hiring anybody. I'd like to talk about the stipends.
The stipends are all in contract.
They're all in contract, okay? So why is it even on here? We can't even vote on it.
Oh, you can vote on who's getting that position.
I see.
But the
But the
amount
stipends is
is all contracted.
Okay. I would like, I cannot vote on hiring anybody right now unless it's emergency. Unless you can tell to me why we have to do it.
Yeah, so.
I'm open.
The paraeducator for SPED one-on-one, by law, we're required to provide that through their IEP. If we don't provide that, we're violating the students' civil rights.
Okay. And we need that one?
Yes.
We can't
We
transfer
cannot.
one?
If we had someone to transfer, we would have.
Okay. Okay, then I'm okay with that.
The custodian, we had 2 custodians leave the RHS campus. They transferred out. That left them
They transferred to a different place with
different sites, yeah.
different sites?
Yeah. So they were down 2, and they requested to fill those 2 positions. We compromised on 1 position, and this was done through consultation with the county as well. They would just not be able to handle it. And RHS campus is this entire campus, so the DO, Ascend, Rare Earth, Abe Lincoln, and the high school.
And how many custodians are there?
5 custodians and 1 lead. Well, this would make 5.
This would make 5.
Plus 1 lead. We explored it, but we just felt it would be impossible for them to keep the facilities in good repair without at least replacing one of the custodians.
Okay.
So you're still gonna be down 1, but
Okay.
that's okay.
So can you just keep going like you're doing for me, please?
Sorry. Right.
Sorry.
The transfer, the transfer is the transfer. The employees have the option to transfer,
Okay.
have the right to do that. Of course, the resignations, we don't plan on filling the clerk position. The paraeducator SPED, that will need to be filled because by contract, every SPED class needs to have a paraeducator.
Actually, there was a transfer, somebody transferred into that position, so we didn't have to hire them.
Okay, so we're transferring that.
Okay.
And the extra duty, the stipends, if we don't approve these, then we can't offer these sports, basically.
This
What's the
adult
adult,
age,
yeah,
what
technician?
what is this one for?
The adult ed technician, that is to support our adult ed program, that comes out of Fund 11. So that $2,800 is paid through our consortium.
Okay.
The consortium is
It's not coming out of general fund then?
No, it's a
No,
grant.
it's,
Okay.
the consortium pays for all of our adult ed costs.
Okay.
And so this position is they would be at the site when adult ed programs are being conducted.
Okay.
And part of it is, we have to register them, we have to have them fill out paperwork and whatnot. And the alternative is to hire someone to do that. And this stipend works out in the sense that they'll only be there when there's extra class.
Okay, sounds good. The scoreboard operators, I know it's only $10, but
Yeah.
did we ever try volunteering? I know it's tough sometimes to get a volunteer to do something. It's tough.
Actually, this is for the
High school.
junior high.
So,
The
The high
basketball
school is
scoreboard.
league and
Yeah, and there's 25.
the Islanders.
I know, it's hard to get volunteers. Okay, we'll have
sometimes
to.
they say you get what you pay for.
Okay,
But, it's not, $10 a game is just a thank you.
I was gonna say, that doesn't even pay the
I know.
fuel.
I'm looking at the budget here.
Barely buying him dinner.
And then all the rest are the teams. Now, are we, every coach that's out there is, we got assistant coach and a head coach that's being paid? Back when I played ball, we had a head coach, and he was a varsity coach, and the JVs were volunteers. You had 2 JV coaches that were volunteers. That was a long time ago. Things changed.
Right,
But
it's in the teacher's contract. that-
it's in the contract too.
For the, these are all, no, this is classified.
Some of them are.
It's in the RTA contract, but whoever's hired, whether they're RTA, CSEA, or non-district employees, are paid those percentages.
So we have to pay them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you've got to have competent.
I could get some pretty good, confident people out there to coach, I guarantee it.
And there are some laws. There
I'm
are some laws that govern the people that.
Try that out. See how that works out for you.
Yeah.
Well, I think before what would happen is the head coach would give a percentage of his salary. And this doesn't look like
And at
that.
times they do.
Well, I'm just saying, this doesn't look like that's.
I don't know if we want to start that conversation.
We're not, I'm just saying.
Well, because there's an issue at the high school that hasn't been resolved, and that we had a couple coaches not get paid due to some issues, and I don't think you want to open up that can of worms right here in public forum.
Well, maybe we should know about it.
Well,
Okay? So back in, if you want, back in May, Krista Reeder, who was an AD at that time, sent an email to HR with Coach Shank's list of his coaches and the stipends that wanted to be approved. That was sent in May 31st. With the transfer from Krista to myself, when I came in July, I had gotten the email, had not gotten a response one way or another to that email, so I'm assuming everything's fine. I get an email from Lisa in September stating, here's the approved stipends, and 2 coaches weren't on that list. 2 of the coaches from May weren't on that list. I talked to HR in October asking, what do we need to do? These 2 coaches aren't on my list of approved. He said, I'll check into it, get back to you. I never heard anything back. In December, the coaches went to pick up their check and said they were never cleared because they never applied for the job. So they never got paid what they thought they were going to get paid because they were never communicated to that they needed to apply. These were coaches that volunteered last year. Coach Shank gave up 4% of his stipend, or 2% of his stipend. Another coach gave up 2% of his stipend in order to get these guys some money for the 5-6 months that they spent on the football field. And now we're told that we can't go backwards and pay for something that, even though it's our mistake. It's our mistake because it was never communicated to me, so I could communicate to my coaches. And there was, again, that transition between Krista and myself, where she sent the email. She hadn't gotten a response to that email before I took over. I never got a response afterwards. So we're, again, no news is, you assume everything's fine. When I talked to Paul in October, I asked him the same question. These 2 guys aren't approved, they're not on my approved list. What do I need to do? I also never got a response back from HR until the coaches came to me and said, I went to pick up my check and it's not there. They said I was never cleared for payment or approved by the board. I've been talking to Lisa, I've been talking to Leanne. She said the county will not go back to pay. And because Coach Shank gave up part of his stipend, they will also not pay him now what he was due if he hadn't split his stipend, because that's going backwards. So my opinion is we need to do the right thing, but I also don't control the purse strings, so I understand that it is, so.
Person had any more strings on it.
If you don't mind, can I just
We
add
weren't,
something?
we weren't ready, I didn't want to bring this up today. We wanted to be more prepared with some data and the emails and that type of thing. But we do feel it's something that you guys at least need to know, and to help these 2 guys out that devoted a lot of time. And you know, football is not just practice every night, you know, it's review time, it's film time. There's a lot of time put in it.
Put in a lot of
The amount of
effort,
money
a lot
we're
of
giving them, it's less than, very much less than minimum wage. But anyway, so I'd like Coach Shank to speak too.
This is the second year that
They were a volunteer the last year, so they didn't,
get paid then.
they did get paid and they knew they weren't gonna get paid. Coach Shank, when they put him, said, I will give up part of my stipend so you guys can get paid this year. So And when that email was sent to HR with the list, and their names were on that list, nothing was ever told to us, well, these guys need to apply, because they're walk-on coaches, they're not district employees. Again, it was never told to us, and I'm not saying I'm not at fault someday too, that I could have followed up, but when I knew the email was out and there was no response, again, you think everything's fine because nobody told you, hey, there's a problem.
And all I can go off on is precedent. And what has happened in the past is, you put in your letter of interest, you get your fingerprint, you get your TB, you take your courses, the district clears you to coach, everything's copacetic, everything's good, you're good to go. I coached in this district 3 years prior to teaching in this district. I was working out of Cal City, I coached here. I never once applied through EdJoin. Several of my assistants never applied through EdJoin. We put in letters of interest, and we were confirmed, and we got paid.
Who were you confirmed through though?
Say that again?
Who confirmed you? When you
My athletic director at the time. So that's I never got a statement from the district. I never got anything specifically from the district that said, okay, you're hired.
So you never signed a contract?
I never signed a contract.
Well, that's not true.
But
Well, until it was time to get paid.
until it was time to get paid,
There was a
yes.
contract to be paid for, which was initiated at the beginning of the summer. We
Correct.
start in May.
And both of those coaches signed those contracts, though.
Okay, so were they on this list to be
Yes.
hired on?
Not on the board agenda,
Never
Okay,
got
well
to the
then
board.
that doesn't make, that's the whole thing.
but it was never communicated
But it
to
was
us
never
that was
communicated
the
that they
case.
needed to apply to get, in
All
order
I
to get on the
needed,
board agenda.
all I
That's
needed was
the
for
whole
somebody to
thing.
say, hey, get your guys to apply through EdJoin,
Yeah.
and we'll get them squared away. If that one simple sentence was communicated to me, it would have been no problem whatsoever. It was never communicated to me
And it was never
until
communicated to
payday.
me either in July when I started as AD or in October when I talked to HR about the issue. It was never communicated back to me that, hey, get these guys to fill out an app so that they can get board approved. I was never told they were never board approved. And I'm sorry, I don't follow the minutes of the board meeting. So I don't read the board meeting minutes and say who's approved and who
I
hasn't.
think from now on, I mean, in the position that we're in now, I think that we just can't assume that this is what we did the last year and the year before, because we are in a different state now.
Yeah.
We have county overseeing us. They really have, our hands are tied.
This was approved
So-
before counties
No, I
overseeing.
know, I'm just saying though, they're overseeing us, so we really just can't approve, positions and what have you.
But going back to what he was saying and what she said, these are contracted positions. And if they're a contracted position, then that percentage needs to be applied to those coaches. And now, we're not talking about hundreds of $1,000s or $800,000 that all of a sudden in the last 6 months the district is in loss of. We're talking about hundreds of dollars for coaches who spent 6 months of their entire lives with from their families and friends to coach. I know this, that no coach on our staff, JV, varsity, and football, has any students or players on staff whatsoever. They're doing this out of the kindness of their heart and giving back to our community. So for us to slight these coaches, and we're talking about literally 6% of 30%, which is hundreds of dollars, and we're slighting these people that were promised something. Now, if you add all those hours up that we spend, literally football season is,
It could be more cancer.
it is cents on the dollar. We are 6 days a week. We are, yes, Monday through Friday for sure. What we don't realize is on Saturdays, we break down films by ourselves, and then on Sundays, we meet as a staff for 6 to 8 to 12 hours, depending how far on in the season we go. And we're talking about literally 3% per coach. What are we doing here? We're hundreds of thousands of dollars in the deficit, and we're talking about 3% to do the right thing for the right people, doing the right things for our community. If we can't get those things done, I mean, crap, what are we doing? We can't even get transportation to games, but these guys are giving up their lives for these players and these students. But we're talking about 6%.
That'll be another issue that we have to take care of later, but.
It's an issue that's.
My plan was to present next week. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's
I
fine.
wanted
We,
to.
again, as I
but-
said, I wasn't ready, and that's why I said I don't think we're ready or want to have this conversation right now, because I'd rather be a little bit more prepared. Or
We could do
either
that.
it in a
I
closed
brought this
session.
up
I don't know
because
if
I
it's
want
gonna be
to
a problem.
understand every penny that we're spending that is going to a good cause. I'm gonna question everything, not that I'm making my mind not hiring. I understand baseball, basketball coaches put in a tremendous amount of time. I understand that. And
Plus, that was part of the budget too, so if they go back, they can track that and they should get that pay. Because it was already spent, it was already budgeted.
Football was allocated 30% to be distributed amongst the coaches. So far, the district has paid out less than 24%. All I'm asking for is, I'm not asking for additional money. I'm asking for the 6% that's still owed to the football program that we can give to those coaches. It's already been allocated. It's not new money.
Okay, well, we can't discuss that portion of it because it's not.
Totally
on the
understood.
agenda, but
Bring it to light.
yes.
Yeah.
Most of these positions are less than a couple $1,000 for the
Less than
whole
that.
season.
And as we get through into the sports, there are some coaches that are going to be presenting a split stipend so that they can have, you know, I know only what's approved is a head coach and assistant coach at each level. That's all that's approved with the coordinating stipend. So, but if a head coach wants to bring in that third person, then those stipends are going to be reduced so that he can have that third person to help out. But the amount of money approved is not
Still the
being
same.
more than what is, the contract calls for. Same way with, in this issue with football. We're not asking for more monies than what's been already very approved. We're just asking to do the right thing for these two guys for monies that have not been spent, that were approved back in April or May, whatever board meeting, that the football stipends were approved. The full 30% was approved. It just hasn't been all allocated. And like I said, so for spring sports, I have the same issue. I know softball has additional people, so she's breaking down her stipends for smaller amounts for herself and her other coaches so that she has that extra support that she wants. So she's, again, we're not asking for additional monies over and what the contract calls for. You know, head coach has specific percent for head coach, specific percent for the assistant varsity, same thing. So it totals up a certain amount. For football, that was 30. For softball, I think it's 22 or something like that. So, so anyway, again, you'll see the same thing as we get into the spring sports. Just posted those positions, or sent those requisitions to post those positions. So that'll be coming up on the board agenda too. And I promise I will follow up to make sure that everybody's on the list that needs to be on the list. I won't let that happen again, I promise. So,
Okay, I'm good. You guys made a good argument, I'm ready. That's all I want. I want to make sure
No, yeah.
I understand it and I like it.
I want to know what an expulsion administrator is.
Can you get a from August?
Sure, go ahead.
The expulsion administrator coordinates every single expulsion, all the paperwork, runs the meetings, it's hours of work. Especially if it's hours. Years depend on how many kids get expelled, but I've already had 10 this year, and I would estimate per expulsion.
At least an hour.
Oh no, it's anywhere from 15 to
just the
20
meeting
hours
itself is
per
2 to 3.
expulsion.
Right, I was gonna say, it's an hour here, but the hours it takes you to put all this together.
Expulsion packets, coordinating
I-
everything, going
yeah.
from site to site, coming to the expulsion hearing, the extension of suspension meetings, it builds. It builds quickly.
Just never heard of it.
Yeah. Someone has to do all of that paperwork and someone has to go to all of those meetings. This is my first year doing it. I didn't know what, Mr. Holmes did it for a while. And he always said it kept him pretty busy, but now he was being kind. He was not letting on to what it really took. So.
I appreciate you, Mr. Robbins.
I'm good. Good on all the others too?
Yes, sir.
I need a motion.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved master plan for English language learners. The California State Program for English language English learners is to provide equal access to core curriculum through a series of support and interventions. I'll make a motion that we accept that. Oh, Ms. Hargus?
I'll just tell you a little bit about it.
Okay.
So it was in your packet, and really what it is Noemi Herrera went through and revamped it. And it's really how we deal with our English learners, you know, some of the programs that we have, the interventions that we do, how we reclassify them, the criteria that they have to meet. And so it's quite a lengthy process, but she did a great job on that, and so I'd ask for you to approve that.
I had a question about it. I noticed that you're saying to use the special English language learner components of the Wonders program, right?
Right.
So how do you monitor the use of those things in the classroom?
Well, and administrators, you know, are always walking through classrooms and, you know, seeing that. Also lesson plans, it should be in the lesson plan. The ELD portion of the Wonders is completely separate. It has workbooks, it has all kinds of different things.
I've seen the whole thing.
Oh, that's true. So yes.
And there's plenty of materials.
Right,
There are plenty of materials, it's just getting teachers to use the materials that I'm concerned with.
So this is the first year we're using the Wonders?
No, we've used it for several years. It was part of our ELA adoption several years ago. I want to say 5 years, Jennifer, 5 years. About 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years, yeah.
For Wonders?
Oh,
real, for Wonders, yes.
We did.
The math is too. Sorry, getting
No,
them confused.
math was longer.
Three.
Yeah.
Wonders.
Yeah. I was getting them mixed up, sorry.
Math was first, language arts was second.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think I have it backwards too.
Have your motion.
I hear a motion to approve the master plan for the English learners for 2018-19.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approve single school plan for Rare Earth High School. Mr. Torres.
Hi, good evening. At Rare Earth, as you know, it's the continuation high school. When we wrote the single plan, what we noticed when we were reviewing our results was for the last 2 years, the overall achievement for our students has not changed. It has stayed at exactly the same percentage. So our first goal this year is to improve our test scores by 5%. The way we're going to accomplish work towards this is professional development led both by myself and some of my senior staff members. We're going to focus on the areas of differentiated instruction and improving the way we conference with our students. Every morning we have a 30-minute advisory period, and at the present moment it's where the students initiate. We're going to change that up a little bit. We are going to divide the advisory period where the teacher meets with a minimum of 2 to 3 students every morning. And they're going to find out where they at, what do they need additional help with. If they notice a student is starting to fall a little bit behind, find out why. They're also going to cover another area that we're going to be working on, attendance, and find out if a student's been absent 2 or 3 days, what's going on. It could be something as simple as their mom's car broke down and that's why they haven't been coming to school. In the way we address these issues, and also establish rapport with the students so that they have a sense of more comfort with us, where they can come up and say, look, I've got a problem before it becomes a problem, or I'm anticipating this problem because, you know, we've heard my grandma's sick, so I'm not going to be in school for the next 2 days. So we want to sit there and work with them to where we can encourage them to maybe do some work at home as well. Mr. Wexler has mentioned that they can work on the notes part of the lessons from home. So, you know, if we know that something like that is coming up, we can remind them, we can help them set it up so that they're not falling behind, but they can continue to work on it on a regular basis. We want the students to be better prepared for us to keep them on track, because our ultimate goal is to get them back at their comprehensive sites. We'd like them to finish out their academic career at Rosemont High School. If that's not possible, then we're going to make sure that they are on the proper track to be successful when they do leave us after their senior year. So that's the primary focus of the single school plan for student achievement at Rare Earth this year.
I make a motion to approve the single school plan for Rare Earth High School.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You said you're in your notes you were having some attendance problems with the students,
Yes, sir.
and that you're using a new attendant tracking system. Does that seem to be helping you? Now, you also talked just now that you may be talking to the students and.
Yes, this year we adopted attendance to attendance. We get a report, I want to say it's like every 3 to 3.5 weeks. It gives me a list of all the students who have been absent for an extended period of time or have been absent a lot. It also covers when they've been truant, tardiness, and when it becomes a chronic problem. In addition to meeting with the students and talking to them about what the problem is, we're also conferencing with their parents. It's gotten to the point we bring parents in, and one mom said, well, I wasn't aware my child was not coming to school every day. And we said, well, we've sent you letters, we've made phone calls. So this conference is basically the document that now we've sat down across the table, and this is an issue, and we want to work with you to prevent this from happening in the future. So it's helping us a lot, but I think, I remember when I was in the classroom, a student's a lot more comfortable talking to their teacher than talking to the principal. So we figured if we continue that rapport, if the teachers just work with something like that, the students can be a lot more forthcoming to where we can be more proactive rather than reactive when it comes to helping our students stay in school. Right now our attendance is a little bit over 89%. I'd like to join the crowd and get it back up to about 92, 93.
So, wouldn't it, you're saying you get a report after 3 weeks, it seems like the teacher would be more aware of it way before 3 weeks.
Right.
That, so how is that teacher communicating to you?
Well, they're making me aware when there is an issue and they need me to speak with the student, but primarily they handle it in the classroom, and then if I see that we're not being successful, then usually I'll sit there and talk to the teacher and find out, is there something that I don't know about that I should be aware of, and they just haven't caught up with me, because I kind of move around a lot throughout the day. But again, with this attendance to attendance, it does give me an opportunity to have something on my desk in my face that I can jump in and either approach the teacher or just go straight to the student and his parents or her parents.
With your experience, do you feel it's better for you to address the parents and call them when there's, or I understand there's a new tracking system at the school, and they call, and you say that 3 weeks later you got a letter saying, do you think it might be better if it was kept in hand to you so you can address the problem right away?
I like the fact that it's a little less intimidating when they receive a letter from the company that says, there's a problem. But by the time I'm intervening,
you got their letter.
Yeah, if the parent says he's not aware of it, then usually I just double check with my secretary to make sure we don't have any return mail. And if we do, that's a great opportunity for us to update all of our contact information.
Great, thank you so much.
Sure.
Approve singles plan for Abe Lincoln.
I approve it.
Did you go for that one?
Oh.
Did you yay and nay?
Did you guys miss me?
That was
it was made through both schools, right?
I should have changed my time.
No, thanks for ducking, but you're not. Yeah.
Oh, okay. For Abraham Lincoln, as you know, it's an independent study program. We deal with a lot of students. Some of them are waiting or pending, they're pending expulsion hearing, so we service them. But what we noticed when reviewing their SBAC test scores for overall achievement, we improved by 2% last year, which was great. We still set the goal at 5%, but what we noticed the primary problem is with them is that we have anywhere between 85 to 100 students filtered through the program. Sometimes they're with us for a short amount of time due to maybe a family or issue that they need to resolve. But what we notice that when testing comes around, because they only need to come to us once a week to meet with their teacher, is they're not coming back for the standardized testing. So in order to address that and to improve or get a better representation of how well we're doing, we are going to put some incentives in place to have the students come and actually stay for the entire testing window. The testing window is extended, so it gives me a lot more flexibility with some of my students that, for transportation reasons, may not come in for all 5 days that I need them to come in consecutive order, but we can work something out with them. So every year, the Jethawks work with us on an attendance challenge. For Abraham Lincoln, what we're going to focus on is attendance during the testing window. And I understand that the Jethawks will give the student a ticket and the parents have to buy their own tickets. We're going to sweeten the pot. If a parent can get that kid in there for the entire testing window, we're going to make it a 4-pack. The kid gets here and we'll buy 2 extra tickets for the parents to take the student to Jethawk Stadium as well. So we're going to kind of, I hate to use the word bribe, but we're going to bribe the parents to get those kids there. Because especially my 4th and 5th graders, I don't want them behind the wheel of a car. So we want to get them there. And again, we're going to throw professional development. We're going to keep it in-house during our staff meeting periods of time. We're going to focus on differentiated instruction because we run the gambit with the number of kids that we see. And then we're also going to work on how to write a better ISP, an individual student plan, and how to more efficiently use the hour that we have to focus on the areas of concern, the areas of weakness, rather than a shotgun approach of we're going to cover all 6 subjects that you had assigned. If a student shows a strength in math, we'll check on him, make sure he's okay on that, but if he's having problems with, let's say, reading comprehension, we want to focus the majority of our time on that to ensure that he's successful, he feels successful, and we just feel that with that he's going to get a more balanced education throughout the time he's with us.
Thank you, Mr. Forrest. I make a motion to approve the school plan for Abraham Lincoln Independence Day.
All in favor?
Aye.
Single school plan for Roseman Elementary. Mr. Meza.
Good evening, Board. My name is Santiago Meza. I'm principal first year at Roseman Elementary. So this was my first experience. So it's getting better. The traffic has improved dramatically, and I think that's helped a lot too because we don't have cars sitting and staggered in the parking lot waiting to get in. We have a steady flow, so emergency vehicles can get in as well too. So that's been an amazing accomplishment for my staff. And then the other thing we also want to focus on heavily is the language learners. Anyone with a deficit doesn't have to be a person that talks a different language. It could be someone that was born here in the States that speaks English, but has a deficit in English. The things that we're doing with GLAD strategies, and we just went to a training with several teachers from each grade level, will help be on-site support rather than us contracting through a company. We have teachers that are going to be professionals now that can offer on-site support immediately to any teacher on campus and stuff. So those are probably the 2 biggest things that we're going to be working on this year to help support our staff. And thank you to my school site council for supporting this stuff. So hopefully the board approves the school site plan so we can move forward and make some things happen. So.
Make a motion to approve the school plan for Roseman Elementary School.
Second.
Ms. Sanchez made the motion. Ms. Robinson seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Single site plan for West Park. Ms. Lacy.
Good evening. Sorry, I don't have a very good voice. I've been sick for only a month and a half, but it's okay. So when we looked at our CAS scores, my school site council and my leadership team and everybody had kind of a little bit of an opportunity to look through. We noticed that we've shown some improvement with our ELA scores of our students that have nearly met or exceeded from the 15-16 year to the 17-18. There's been an 11% increase, so we're showing some an improvement in both for the ELA and as well as for math. However, the math is not improving at quite at the same rate as the ELA. So our school has really been focusing a little bit this year on math. We have set goals in our single plan for math, writing, reading, focusing a lot on the closed reading skills, as well as making sure our teachers incorporate those 30 minutes of ELL instruction and using the materials properly that they should be using within the classroom. For all of our goals, some of the strategies and things that we're doing and actions are basically pretty much the same. We have System 44 and Read 180, I Read. We have paraeducators in the classroom. Our PLC teams are working really well together at West Park. As I said, for math this year, we're really focusing on putting together, looking at all of the standards and cooperating throughout the grade levels. We contacted Tropico for some input from the 6th grade teachers to what did they want to see for their 5th graders coming in. What's the absolute things that they need to know in math to make sure that they're successful when they get there. Same thing for the 5th graders. What do they need to see from the 4th graders to make sure? We're going to teach all of the standards, but we're going to really focus in on those essential standards that they have to make sure they're successful. And that's some of the work that we're doing within our PLC teams, and that's throughout. We're doing that with ELA. They create, and both with ELA and math, they create short-term goals. They look at individual assessments. So it might be a 3 to 5 week period. We're going to work on this standard. This is where we want our kiddos to be by the end of it. They give an assessment at the beginning. They give an assessment at the end. Have they made it? Those who have not, what are we going to do to help them? So there's a huge process with that PLC team that it's just... I'm very excited to see all the things that are happening with that. As far as our service goals, the goals that focus more on this whole school, we do also want to improve our parent involvement and getting that contact out to them. So we've really done a really good job, I think, focusing on sending out those Blackboard messages, our newsletter, making sure that that's out as soon as we can at the beginning of the month. Our website is always updated at the beginning of the month. So if you look at there, usually the first day of the month, it's ready to go with all new information about what's happening at West Park. And we do have a Twitter page, and Ed is actually kind of taken it upon himself to help the district out with that as well. But we're just really trying to make sure our parents are informed of anything that we do. We are having parent nights to invite parents out to our school site, and that's one of the things that the School Site Council really wanted to look into, and getting some more of those parent nights and getting some more parent involvement through that area. West Park has pretty good attendance typically, and we did also set a goal for 97%, and we're not that far away from it typically each month. So we're really working hard on that. We keep a very close eye, Mr. Shevlin and I, looking at that A2A information that they're speaking of, and we do make those phone calls and call those parents in, especially if they're having poor attendance. I think we've contacted so far 72 parents of those kids with poor attendance, just making sure that they get the information, they know their kids are having issues and the impact that it's having on them at school. So I have been making that contact. We do lots of different activities for attendance that I think have really helped improve our attendance. We have class perfect attendance where they get every 10-day increments where their whole class is there every day. They get a new prize, and it kind of escalates. So when they get to like 50 days, it's a bigger prize, of course, when they're at 10. So they get a different one every time. So that's not always the same thing. It makes it a little bit more exciting because they, oh, what are we going to get this time? They also have quarterly attendance awards where they get a perfect attendance award and a pencil. At the year-long attendance awards, it's a big deal. They get prizes and all kinds of gift cards and different things that we can come up for them. We also have a lunch with the principal. So at the end of every month, we get 8 kiddos' names that have been able to attend every day for the month. We do a drawing for 8 names, and those 8 kiddos get to eat lunch with me once a month. And so it's a different 8 kids every month. They enjoy doing that, but it's just something that they get to hear about and know that if they get there every morning when we have and we do announce in our morning announcements those the classes with the 10 days, and I have a sentence that I say every time. It's important to be here at school because the more you're here, the more you learn. And if you ask any kid at West Park, why do you need to attend school, they're going to say that sentence to you because they have it ingrained in their head. You can ask Ms. Schmidt and Mr. Warfield because they're probably tired of hearing it as well. We also want to decrease the number of referrals and suspensions due to disruption in the classroom and defiance. And so we've done quite a few things with that. We have our golden ticket program, which you guys have heard. I did a presentation in December, kind of went a little bit into that. We have the Student of the Month Award, and then we have Project Wisdom morning announcements. We're doing the Capturing Kids' Hearts, and we just have lots of different things, positive things around our school that make sure kiddos really want to be at school every day. So anyway, I hope you approve my plan, and thank you very much.
Thank you. I usually try not to be having lunch with the principal.
Used to be a bad thing when I was in school.
No, they love me. Even when they're getting in trouble.
I used to do that, and it's
sorry,
free
no more
prize.
The only thing I'd like to say to the elementary schools.
To approve the single school plan for West Park Elementary School.
I second it. Yay.
All in favor?
Aye. The only thing I'd like to say to elementary schools is, do we have something that we monitor the kids from like kindergarten at first and see the beginning of it and the end? I believe that 2 years are really important to teach these kids to read, spelling, get numbers in their head. I believe that they're like little sponges.
We do benchmark assessments every quarter, and then we look at our PLC teams really look at those scores and our short-term goals that they're setting and seeing the progress throughout the year. That's really
We really look at them two classes,
right.
Kindergarten and
we
first
look at
and
every
second.
grade level, but the kindergarten and first grade teachers are very particular.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of them in here about looking at those scores.
Yeah,
There's
to me
a
that
fluency test that's administered, and the standards for each quarter go up.
It's in the kindergarten, for
Yeah.
sure. And in first grade, they have the reading fluency assessment. There's all kinds of assessments, the benchmark assessments they take every quarter, and all of that information is very, they go through
I
that.
just like to really take them
fine-tooth
two
comb.
classes real serious, because
Absolutely.
that builds our foundation for the students. I'm a firm believer in
And they are the
kindergarten.
hardest classes to teach that there are.
I don't want to neglect them. If they need something, we want to make sure, as I do as a board member, that they have what they need in them classes.
I know you do.
Single school plan for Tropical Middle School.
So our single plan has goals focusing on student achievement for the CAS scores for increasing our English learner reclassification, and this year for our the new California Science Test. Within those goals, we have collaboration, professional development, different strategies, intervention strategies. We've really, over the last 5 years, since I've been here, this is my 5th year, we have really tried to implement a sound and just focused on student improvement, but a sound intervention program to help kids make it through the middle school. I would say more than academic achievement, we're trying to provide an environment for the students so that they can get through middle school unscarred. This is a very difficult time for kids, and it is oftentimes a madhouse at Tropico. The kids have all kinds of different things going on in their bodies. Socially, it's awkward for them, and so we really try to improve the school environment through our positive behavior and intervention and support. We're trying to reduce our suspensions greatly. Sometimes it's just the nature of the game, but we have a lot of alternatives to suspension. We are also trying to help our teachers understand how to reach the students better through capturing kids' hearts. That's been a good addition to our site. We are also really trying to get communication out to the parents more. We've done that every year. We've increased, but I can't say enough about what the district's done for our attendance and parent outreach and the tools they've given us. It's wonderful, especially the newsletter. We have newsletter meetings twice a month, and it's been a really effective tool to get information out, and we're just trying to increase the parents reading the actual newsletter. Our parent conference attendance has increased every year. We increase the number of student study teams, success teams, to help our students succeed academically. It seems like we're either in an IEP or an SST every day of the week. We are constantly trying to reach out to the parents and the students to get them to be on the same page with us. And I can look back from 14, 15 when I came here till now, and we've seen great strides, and it's just continuing. And I can't say enough about the support that we receive from the district and the efforts of my staff
to get us there. That's what our plan of goal is.
I make a motion to approve the single school plan for Tropical Middle School.
A second. Second by Mr. Bender, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I visited your school. I've got 2 granddaughters. You're doing a good job.
Thank you. We try.
You're doing a good job. All the teachers out there are doing a good job.
Approve single school plan for Roseman High School.
Hello. Our focus at the high school and our goals are very similar to what the other schools are planning. We need to increase our test scores. We had some very marginal gains in English this year. Actually, for this last testing period, I know this year we've had some very good gains in our Read 180, so I'm hoping for some more improvement in our reading scores this year. Math, I think, took a little bit of a dip, so we do need to work and focus more on our math intervention. We do have a STEM math intervention class, so we hopefully see some improvement there. We do offer tutoring during lunchtime, and many of the teachers offer tutoring after school for math. Many of the math teachers stay behind or in their classrooms after school to help with math. So those are some of the things we're trying to do to help with those scores. But as everybody else has talked about attendance, I would also sound the same support for the A2A program. It has helped increase the parent conversations regarding attendance. I know we had one parent come in, he had gotten a letter saying that his daughter was missing or hadn't been at school, and he came in and said, I didn't know she wasn't coming to school. So actually that day she was at school, so we called her out of class and we had a parent conference right there with her and dad, and it didn't go very well for her. She had been ditching. So it has helped catch some of the things. It's a good tool to at least create conversations. I know we've also had many conferences with students and invited parents. I will tell you our parent attendance rate percentage is not very high, but it at least, again, is generating conversations with the students and in some cases the parents. So I do like the new program because it's a good way. Actually, I get reports weekly from A2A saying, here's all the students, do you want to send them letters? And the amount that letters we're sending out has decreased a little bit, not to the point where we need to be, but so we are seeing some improvement in our attendance. Overall, though, of course, our focus at the high school is to make sure our kids are either college prepared or career prepared when they leave. So, you know, our core curriculum classes are all A through G approved. We know that SKPA is a flexible schedule program that also is offering college-ready courses. So it allows those kids to also be ready for college, even though they may not be able to attend in a comprehensive high school. And of course, our CTE, we have pathways in welding and in construction trade and medicine, which lead to a certificate, and actually the construction trade pathway even can lead to getting into the apprenticeship into the Brotherhood of Carpenters. So it's, you know, some good things going on there for students that may not even feel they want to go to college. So, so again, that's our focus, as any high school should be, is to get our kids ready for either college or for a career. So.
Mr. Riley, what is your graduation rate right now?
I want to say, last time I looked at the dashboard, I'm sorry, I don't have it off the top of my head, it was like 96 or 97%. And Leanne, maybe you can help me with that?
I believe it is 98%.
98? Okay.
87 when you combine Abraham Lincoln and River.
Okay.
So district-wide is
When you look at the dashboard and you have these green and red and orange things, that is green for us. I know the other area I think we're doing very well in is EL reclassifications. As far as high school, we're doing well in that. You know, and I do like our Read 180 program. I think is a very good help in that area. So.
Well, you talked about a lot of the goals and things that are happening at Rosemount Elementary, but that was not in the school plan. So I'd like to table that, and then you can include that on your school plan that you just discussed right now.
What wasn't in there?
All the goals that you were just talking about right now.
Goals were in there.
Well, I mean, at the high school is what I'm saying.
What goals went in? Attendance is in there?
Well, not just, it was not all, you know, complete, and we had some concerns that we talked to the superintendent about. So we'd like to table that and then bring it back to us.
Why was I not
again.
told this before the meeting so I could have addressed it and got
We
that?
only get this Friday.
Yeah, we just got this packet, and so we were able just to review it.
Okay,
I
'cause all the
mean,
goals I talked about, all the
yeah,
stuff I talked
everything you
about are in
said,
those as goals.
It should be in here. So,
They were in there.
Yeah, I don't
Which
think
one is
all
not
of
in
them-
there?
Well, I mean, you had a lot of great ideas and all that you said, and we had some concerns that we talked to Ms. Hargus, so if you can, talk with her about it, she'll discuss it with you. So we'd just like to table it and then bring it back next board meeting. I make a motion to table the school single plan for Roseman High School. Go ahead.
I have a motion to table the high
With
school.
the auto shop and the wood shop, and that they can actually go through that wood shop and get into the carpenters union. That's fantastic. The auto shop, I think it needs some more people to volunteer some old equipment for them. I was gonna bring over some old lawnmowers for them and stuff like that, but very impressed. Very nice facility they have there, the weld shop. They're making storage sheds like crazy, and some good ones too. They're doing an excellent job out there. And just want to let you know that
We use them
Yes.
for football.
you use them. That's what they said.
We store our jerseys.
I asked them if they sell them, and they said every time they get ready to sell one, you guys take it for something else. So they're doing an excellent job. I don't know if we could sell them, but why? I don't see why not. Let's
No,
get
because
that
they use
going.
money to buy more supplies.
Buy more supplies with the money, yes. That's an excellent, they're doing an excellent job. I'm really proud. I was really happy to see that facility.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
I got one more thing. I don't know if we need to put it on the list or how we work, but with our budgeting and all this, I think it's almost a waste of time to go to the other schools and have them set everything up for a meeting. Can we postpone the meetings for here for now? Or is there a reason why we,
We usually go to the school site so we can do a presentation.
is there any way? I mean, I know it's nice, but we get in this big warm room and there's only 15, 20 of us, and even the video quality I watch isn't that good in that big room, so. I'm just thinking that if we could, until we have something urgent where we might need more room.
It's not on the agenda, is it?
Well, can we put it on the agenda? Can we put it on the agenda for next week? Or, I mean, it's just a thought. It's just, I mean, we got custodians tearing the room up and tearing it down. That's got to take a little bit of time. I mean, that time's money. I want to save $1 if I can.
Take that into suggestion.
You weren't here when the room was.
I was here when the room was done. I stood out there in the window. I stood out back on the window. I was here. But that only happens every once in a while. We can move it then.
Yeah, start building up.
You have to have 72 hours notice to move it.
You second.
I second it.
I have a first and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry, but I'm not in a hurry, guys, so we may run a little later.